Ultra fast fashion is not your fault. Unless you're watching this as the CEO of Shein, in which case, kind of is your fault. But you as a regular human and non-CEO, you might want to just have your hard-earned money buy you clothing that lasts. Is that so much to ask for? Hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm Nabila. I love talking about fashion, sustainable fashion, and sewing related things. And in today's video, I want to give you some tips on how you can make your clothes last longer in your wardrobe. And these are just tips. You can take what you like and leave the rest, and you won't offend me. And because I know some people will leave a comment before watching the whole video, I just wanted to say at the top that in this video, I will not be shaming anyone for buying fast fashion for whatever reason. You do you. This video is just to act as a framework for how to make your clothes last in your wardrobe if you're sick of buying clothes that fall apart. I'm really inspired to do a series on how to fight fast fashion. So if you have any topics you would like to be covered in a series like that, please leave them down below. This is a topic that I feel like I could talk about each specific category for a long time. So I'm gonna leave a table of contents so you can skip around in this video to get what you need from it. Having clothes last in your wardrobe really starts at what you buy, and you need to be really picky of what you're adding to your wardrobe. And when you start to be picky, you're just gonna automatically start buying less. The mantra I always hear is buy less, choose well. And BernadetteBanner actually did a great video on how to identify quality in clothes. And I also have a video on my channel of basically the checklist that I go through in my head of what I'm looking for before I buy a piece of clothing. But also it's kind of a mental game as well. You want to put as much time between you and the purchase. Doing that will make sure that you are thinking through the purchase with a clear head and you're not just impulse buying something. I know some people give themselves a time limit to wait before buying something, so they'll have something on their wish list for about 2 weeks before they're ready to commit to that purchase, or even like a month or 6 months time. Also, since no buys and low buys are really popular this year, I've seen some people try to add only 6 to 12 new items in their wardrobe for this whole year. When you have a limited amount of slots of new items that you want to add to your wardrobe, you're gonna think critically about every single piece on that small list. And I think that could really help people if you want to adopt that mindset as well. Obviously, on the topic of fighting fast fashion, buying something secondhand is great. Buying something in person and shopping in person is great. In my last video about fast fashion, some people were commenting that a higher price doesn't equal higher quality, as if it was some huge gotcha. But I think we all know that price doesn't equal quality. And that's why I really emphasize shopping in person, so you can really look at the seams and look at the fabric and touch that fabric and really know what your money is going towards and inspecting that item before just blindly buying something online without looking at it. I know that's not an option for every single store out there, but I really do feel like companies are getting super bold with what they're selling us because they know we're only looking at it on a screen. And if you saw that item in person, you would know this is not worth my money. And that's not to say that everything online is bad quality. That's just to say this is one tool you can use in your tool belt for assessing if a piece of clothing is worth adding to your wardrobe. For trying to find if something is quality while shopping online, I try to look at reviews and see the unstylized pictures, if that makes sense, because the model pictures are obviously selling you some sort of aesthetic, whereas the pictures from the reviews are just people's real life and they're showing you what that clothes looks like unstyled, not on a model, on a real person. And that can kind of be refreshing, and you can kind of sometimes see this is a really great piece of clothing, like they look amazing in that, or you can see, oh, that looks kind of thin. Maybe there's even something that the reviewer is saying is off in that piece of clothing, and you can kind of tell that's probably not gonna work for me. I also really like scouring the Buy It for Life subreddit when I'm looking for a basic item, but you just wanna be aware that if the post is like 7 years old and they're recommending a certain brand, that brand might have changed the quality of their good between those 7 years. So just be a little wary of that. But I really like the Buy It for Life subreddit as a great starting point. Another tip I have for you is notice when you're wearing a particular item a lot and maybe think about buying the duplicate of that exact item. Some people, I think this might be obvious advice, and for someone like me, it was not obvious at all. I always have this mentality of like, I shouldn't buy the same thing twice because I already have that piece. So instead I should buy something that is kind of like the other item that I like, but not exactly, just so that I can have some variety in my wardrobe. But that's kind of a silly philosophy if you have that item that you are literally wearing 5 days out of the week or something like that. If you are really reaching for a particular item so often, you're gonna wear through it pretty quickly. For example, I have a specific pair of bike shorts that I wear a lot, especially in the summer when I'm working in this office, because it gets so hot. And for the longest time, I only had 2 colors in this bike short. It was a navy and a black. And then recently I just bought myself an extra black pair because I'm always wearing that color of bike shorts. And I think typically I wouldn't treat myself to buying a second black pair of bike shorts because I'm like, I already have that one, I can wash it and wear it again. But now I feel unlocked because I really wore those bike shorts so often, and now I can rest easy knowing that they're not going to wear out fast because I have 2 pairs to split the wears out between. Now this next tip might not be for everyone, but maybe save up to buy the designer item and not the dupe, because when you are saving up your money to buy that one specific piece, you're really going to be thinking consciously on if that piece is going to be worth your money and your time to save up for. And maybe sometimes it's not, and that's okay. But sometimes that designer item is worth it because you're gonna have a long lasting relationship with that item, because you're gonna feel so special every time you wear it and you're gonna take care of it really well. Whereas sometimes when you're buying the dupe, you're so lost in the heat of the moment of like, oh my God, this is such a great deal. I'm getting this percentage off of the real thing, and wow, like this is such a bargain. And when you take a step back, you're like, I don't even like this bag. And then just notice when you're being advertised to, because I think just noticing that someone is trying to sell you something kind of changes your perception of that thing. And just understand what will work for your lifestyle and what won't. I really like that trend that people are doing on TikTok of what an influencer could never influence me to buy. I think that's such a great mentality to have when it comes to especially scrolling on social media, because you are really being advertised to every second you're on there. I also got a tip from a friend to add filters to TikTok so that I wouldn't see TikTok shopping stuff as much. I still do see TikTok shopping stuff when I'm scrolling, but it does help. If you have any tips for how to see less ads on your social media, please leave them down below because I personally need it. A huge tip on how to make your clothes last longer is wearing the correct clothes for the job. So what I mean by that is maybe that's wearing dark clothes when cooking so you don't get tomato sauce on your white t-shirt, or wear an apron while you're cooking just to prevent the spills getting on your clothing altogether. If you're into gardening, wearing specific outdoor clothing while gardening is a great way to not get dirt all over your clothes. A disclaimer on this tip is don't get so precious about your clothing that you're not wearing it. Clothes are meant to be lived in, so definitely wear your clothes. But this video is all about making your clothes last, so obviously those tips are relevant for this video. The biggest destroyer of your clothes are heat and agitation. So how you do your laundry really matters. I wash all my clothing on cold. I only use hot water when I'm washing towels or bed sheets, and that's really because the hot water kills the dust mites and germs and stuff like that better. But for your clothing, you do not need to wash them in hot water. Also, you might be using too much detergent. I think 1 to 2 tablespoons per load is plenty. I really don't like when detergent is also pre-measured for me, so that's really why I hate Tide Pods and things of that nature. Also, be careful to not overfill your washer because that'll make the clothes rub together too much and they won't have room to actually really get clean. So you want to fill your washer to about 2/3 of the way full to really maximize the efficiency of your washer. Another tip is use mesh bags for delicates, and I even use pillowcases religiously. With all these tips, your mileage may vary, but I have washed hand wash items in a pillowcase before and been fine. Anything that has a delicate detail like lacing or anything like that, I also tend to put in a pillowcase before washing. And also make sure that all your zippers are zipped, your hook and eyes are closed, and anything that's Velcro, make sure that Velcro is closed, or put it in a separate wash for that Velcro, because Velcro will really like latch onto all your clothing and snag all those threads, so you really don't want that. When I think of something with Velcro, I'm thinking about something like swim trunks, for example. So I would put that in a separate wash since it has that Velcro in it, and I would assume that the company who made the swim trunks would make sure the Velcro wouldn't stick to the trunks themselves. And of course, there's also the classic advice of turning your clothes inside out. That will prevent your graphic tee prints from cracking. It'll also allow for any pilling from the agitation to happen on the inside of the garment rather than the outside. Also, I wouldn't use fabric softener or dryer sheets. Those leave a film on your clothes that are not good for the longevity of the piece. As for the dryer, I would air dry as much as possible, especially for synthetics, because they're gonna air dry pretty quickly anyway. And gone are the days that you have to air dry your clothes outside on a clothesline. You can also use a drying rack. I really love the drying rack that my husband and I have. It's such a nice drying rack because it's so big, so we can really space out our clothes and have them dry as quickly as possible. And yeah, I feel kind of silly mentioning this drying rack, but it really has changed the game for my husband and I. If you are using the dryer, I would recommend using low heat, unless it's cotton towels or bed sheets, just because those take a little bit longer to dry. And then the true fashion people will already know that the way you get your clothing to last longer is just by washing them less. That doesn't mean that us fashion people are all stinky, at least I don't think so. But you can use a spray bottle with alcohol to remove smells from special occasion fabrics. I know that costuming departments in theaters use that all the time to clean their costumes quickly. And I would also advocate for hand washing when it makes sense. I hand wash all my silk pieces, and it doesn't have to be as labor intensive as you might think. Especially when you're hand washing that one item, it's not that big a deal. There's actually someone that I follow online that swears by hand washing her synthetic activewear pieces, because we know that synthetic fibers tend to hang on to odors. So after she gets home from a run, she hand washes all her synthetic fibers immediately and hangs them to dry, and she swears that her activewear never gets smelly because of this. You should make sure that you're storing your clothes properly as well. So you want to fold your knits, because knitwear tends to grow on the hanger, and you should think about hanging your clothes on the correct hanger. Sometimes I pick a specific hanger that won't dig into the shoulders of a specific top, because I really hate the look of when my t-shirt has a bubbling effect from the hanger. And I always steam my clothes. Steaming your clothes can be a great replacement for fabric softeners if you're used to that, because it does soften up the way that garment looks and can make it not feel as starchy or stiff if you have hard water problems. And then of course, this is a sewing channel, so I have to mention mending and repairing your clothes. There are a ton of resources on YouTube for mending, and you can learn with just a needle and thread. And I know some hotels still give out those free sewing kits, so you could potentially pick up mending as a habit for free. Mending does not have to look perfect. In fact, I think it makes clothing more special for it to not be perfect. Mending your clothes is such an incredible human thing that you can do. I also have a whole video where I mended and repaired some items, so if you want to check that video out, you can check it out here. And then another thing I love talking about on here is altering clothes so that you can wear them again and again and love that piece in your wardrobe. Also, as a side note, can we rebrand pilling? Some of my clothes are pilled, and I just think that's so cool. I'm just like, wow, I really wear this shirt a lot. For example, I have this Fleet Boxes shirt that I really just wear to bed, but I just love how it's so pilled. To me, it really says, I was here, I was wearing this shirt. The pilling is evidence that this shirt is so loved. And I also feel like there's this growing trend in designer pieces to have that lived in look, where they're brand new clothes, but they've been pre-distressed to really make it look like someone has worn out that piece. So if a designer can make this distressing look like a desirable trait, why can't we just decide that pilling is cool? Okay, that's all for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe if you want to see more videos on this series coming up, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!